Okay, our book was called Manhunt, The 12-Day Chase for Lincoln's Killer by James L. Swanson, and I am Joanna Avery.
And I am Bridget Rose. And one of the quotes that was so significant in this book was Sic Semper Tyrannius, which means thus always to tyrants, which is what James Booth yelled after killing Abraham Lincoln. So Lincoln was assassinated in Ford's Theater. After that, there was a manhunt for John Wilkes Booth, who was his assassin. The book begins when Booth and his accomplices start to plan the assassination of the Secretary of State, the President, and the Vice President. In the end, it goes on to explain the manhunt for his assassin, for Lincoln's assassin.
Okay, and the timeline of the book begins around the time General Lee surrendered to General Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, and because Booth was a supporter of the Confederacy, Lee's surrender enraged him because he wanted the Confederacy to win, so as revenge, he wanted to assassinate Lincoln. Booth then found Davy Harold, Lewis Powell, and, Bridget, help me with this name, Atzerodt, to help him assassinate the Secretary of State and Vice President. Davy Harold was the guy that was going to help him once he assassinated Lincoln. He was going to help him escape. Then after this, Booth assassinates Lincoln and then runs for his life. Atzerodt backs down. He's at a bar and he's drinking, and then he sees the Vice President, and then he decides he doesn't want to do it, and so he just doesn't do it. And then Powell tries to go after the Secretary of State, but he did stab him, but he didn't stab him where it was going to kill him, so he didn't die. So that didn't work out like they wanted. And then Booth broke his leg during his escape, which slowed down his escape a lot because he couldn't go as fast as he needed to. So he had to stop and get help from different people, and he stopped at people who supported the Confederacy because he knew they would help him. And then when Booth and Harold are actually really close to getting away, and they were actually going to get away, but they accidentally set their boat in the wrong direction and started going north instead of south. If they had gone south, they probably would have gotten away from the manhunters. And then the manhunters figure out that they accidentally went north and start closing in on them, and then I'm not going to give away the ending to the book.
So going on to our stylistic devices, the author uses a lot of descriptive similes. Swanson also includes vivid light imagery. And last, he includes a lot of dramatic irony. So on our descriptive similes, we have quite a few of them. But the first one that we're going to talk about is the one that's describing Laura Keene. And she was covered in blood and Lincoln's brain matter, and this is how he describes it: like a Victorian bride who lovingly preserved her wedding dress as a sacred memento of her happiest day, cherished the blood and brain speckled frock from this terrible night.
She was an actress at the theater, and the reason she had the blood on her dress was because after Lincoln was shot, she ran to his box and she had Lincoln's head in her lap, and that's how she got the blood all over her dress.
And our second quote that we're going to talk about it's describing Thomas Jones, and it was just about their escape. So it was soon their guardian angel, it's describing Thomas Jones, and it was just about their escape. So it was soon their guardian angel, like the river ghost he was, vanished from sight, followed by all signs of the shoreline, blanketed by the cloaking mist.
Okay, the author also uses a lot of vivid light imagery, such as, to his left, when he saw the painted office, his dark figure silhouetted by the white glow of the huge marble building. Throughout the book, the author seems to like to silhouette John Wilkes Booth, and I think it has to do with wanting him to seem dark and mysterious since he was the assassin.
So our dramatic irony, one of the first quotes we got was also the turning point in the book. But while Jones slept more quietly and peacefully than he had in weeks, John Wilkes Booth and David Harold were rowing in the wrong direction.
And this is the part in the book where they had gone south instead of north. They actually would have gotten away.
So one of the books that the author took his information from was written by Ronald White Jr. And he got his PhD from Princeton, and he lectured at Princeton, Whitworth, and Colorado colleges. He also had lectured at the White House, Library of Congress, and Gettysburg on Lincoln, so he's very well versed in Abraham Lincoln's life. Well, he also pulled a lot of information from primary sources. So this piece of nonfiction is informational, and yet it's entertaining. While informing the reader about details and facts about the death of Abraham Lincoln and a search for his murderer, the author writes with eloquence and grace, so much so that the book reads like a fiction novel. This book should be highly regarded for not only educational aspects, but also for its ability to entertain.
Yeah, this book really did read like a historical fiction book. It was interesting, and a lot of the stuff in there I had no idea that it happened because it's not really taught in history. You're just taught that John Wilkes Booth assassinated Lincoln, and so lots of it doesn't even sound real because it seems so crazy.
Especially with the way that he described a lot of the situations in most historical fiction books, or even in other nonfiction books. You don't get that much description. You don't get light imagery and things like that. So it really does come off as a fiction book.
Okay, throughout the book, we found out that both Lincoln and Booth were very obsessed with Shakespeare's play Macbeth, and they both quote it a lot.
They have tied me to the stake. I cannot fly, but bear like I must fight the course.